What's going on, Shane? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Good, man. So we'll get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about, on our last podcast, we talked about the SGB shot that Shane got, the stellate ganglion block shot. And ever since the last podcast we've had some good conversation of how to get it, how much does it cost, and in particular, the Center of Excellence or the IAFF facility, and the steps to the process on how to start the process and get there. So Shane, thanks for talking about this again, and we're going to go into it because we know that you have the personal experience of the actual process. So take it away and talk to us, man.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. So for anybody that is new to that, the IAFF, it's the International Association of Firefighters, the majority of firefighters in the nation, and that includes volunteers, paid call, and career, are part of the IAFF. So we have locals through the entire United States, including Alaska, Hawaii, all that, and Canada. So in Canada, they have several locals. So the IAFF, about 2017, I think they had partnered with Advanced Recovery Systems, which is a private company that's their function is they have recovery centers throughout the nation.
Got it.
Not quite sure how many they have, but they're the standard. You go to a place if you're detoxing, you need rehab, inpatient, outpatient, all the different types of recovery centers.
Mm-hmm.
So the IAFF joined with them and came up with this concept to create this place that's specifically devoted to us as first responders. So anybody that's in the IAFF can go to it, has access to it.
Okay.
And I didn't know a lot about it. I heard a lot about it in terms of, I heard about it. Yeah. People say, oh yeah, there's this place.
Exactly.
But you don't really know what it is. As a pretty active person in the fire service, I participate in a lot of training. I'm, currently assigned as a training officer. So I've always been very active in terms of seeing what's out there in the fire service.
For sure.
I'm an executive board member, so I attend the CPF conference. We know about the Center of Excellence. I get the emails, probably like most people, about, hey, this webinar is going to be in a few weeks on mental health in the fire service, substance abuse in the fire service, how to get along with your spouse.
Yeah,
They're doing good stuff. They're making, the word's out there.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, we said, we're not inventing the wheel here. But as we've discussed about things like, who do we call? Who do we reach out to when we actually get to the point where we're not sure something's going on, or maybe you are sure? And wherever you're at in your journey
of trying to get help.
Yeah. We're all at different stages. So
for sure.
For me personally, EAP was the first thing. That's kind of like where we always direct people to go.
Yeah.
As I discussed on one of our podcasts, it was not a good experience for me.
Yeah. I don't think it is for many, but if it is, awesome.
Yeah. No, I hope. And I think I like to look at stuff in a positive way. Like, at least it's there.
For sure.
The only way it gets better is if we identify the issues and then address them.
Exactly.
And to the credit of the BC that I called, the battalion chief, who is kind of one of the heads of our peer support, as soon as I notified him of the issues with it, he took care of it immediately.
Good.
And so I don't look at it as a negative. Like, I'm not angry about how, the EAP failed me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just that, like, it was an eye opener that, wow, I thought this was way better. I thought the system was in place where, hey, when I need the help, I call. Because we think of ourselves like 911, they call us. We're dialed when we show up. We're ready to rock.
Yeah.
So you think when you call somebody, it's going to be the same, and then we're severely disappointed.
Yeah.
Which then turns you off to the whole process, and you think, okay, this is garbage. What's the point, right?
Exactly.
So when I finally called the center was because I got on their website, and anybody that hasn't, I highly recommend go on there. You can do the Google search, IAFF Center of Excellence. They got a great website, very informative, lots of videos on YouTube. It's all there. So I won't regurgitate that stuff that's already available. Yeah. I'll just talk about my own personal experience and just give you my perspective on the facility and the types of things that are available to us as firefighters.
Yeah. Did you feel comfortable when you called?
No. I felt comfortable. No, I didn't feel comfortable when I called. I felt like it sucked that I couldn't find a local resource without reaching out like this that I felt could really truly help me.
Yeah.
That being the size of the city I work in, the amount of firefighters we have, the fact that this is talked about a lot, mental health, PTSD, things like that.
Yeah.
I was really shocked that we didn't have more layers
Exactly.
in place for us.
Yep, for sure. That's a commonality for sure.
Yeah. So calling the center was kind of well, let's see what this is, right?
For sure.
And so call it, and this is my personal experience. There's I'll mention it later, but I know of others who called too. So
okay.
Found the number online, called it. They said, what's going on, brother? Well, it turns out that, and I don't know if it's always this way. So if somebody else has a different experience, I don't want to like set up expectations and somebody be disappointed. But
yeah.
My first phone call, the person who answered was a former alumni who had gone to the Center of Excellence, meaning that this person was in the IAFF.
Yeah.
He had been, his problem was drinking. He told me on the phone that he had 3 DUIs, that he had multiple issues at home, that he had, he said, I'd blacking out all the time. I was ruining everything, ruining family events, birthday parties, graduations, because I was that guy. He's like, I'd always get blackout drunk. I'd get belligerent. I'd scream at people. I'd, threaten people. I'd throw things across the room. And he said, ultimately it actually ended up with him losing his career as a firefighter.
Got it.
So now he's working for this advanced recovery systems.
Okay.
And he's answering the phone as a call taker to help other firefighters get help. And I thought, wow, okay, well, so this guy gets it.
So you automatically, that doubt that you originally had of, we'll see how it goes, it was pretty much like, there was already something that you connected with.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it was like, okay, well, this guy
gets it.
Like, he speaks my language.
Exactly.
Now, not comparing, but I was nowhere near the rock bottom he had hit.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, immediately, I'm like, well, whoa, I'm not that bad. I mean, this is just, I'm kind of like early stage of, I'm recognizing problems. Me and the wife are having problems, but I'm not doing a lot of that. And I don't have that, but
for sure.
Anyway, so through the discussion with them, one of the things that you're going to get asked, and it's a turn off immediately, is, hey, we need your insurance information.
Yeah. Because
especially when you're at that point where you're feeling like you're asking for help, which is a shitty feeling for firefighters.
Exactly.
None of us want to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have a perception of yourself that you're this tough guy, that you're the rock, that you're this, you're that, which I certainly do about myself. I mean, it's still something I still think about myself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can handle anything. So to say that, I was super skeptical. And as soon as it's like, well, give me your insurance, I'm like, here we go.
Here we go again.
It's a fucking scam. They just want to make money. It's the
Exactly.
same way, like all these other places, because I'd already been to these other places, as I told you, from the EAP, that were horrible experiences. And it was clearly that they were like, oh, this guy's got good insurance. We can bill the shit out of this, because these are expensive treatments, programs, you name it, right? So immediately I'm like, God dang it, this is not what I want. Like, you haven't even talked to me yet. You don't even know what the hell my problem is.
Yeah.
Literally, the reason I called them was I wanted to ask, okay, I live in this area. I'm in California. Do you have a list? I mean, literally,
someone I can see.
That was the phone call I made, was to get a list of XYZ doctors in the nearby area that I could reach out to.
Yep.
Well, based on my answers to the questions that they give you when you first call, I met the criteria of like the PTSD, and substance abuse for alcohol. Like, I was abusing alcohol. So I wasn't detoxing. I wasn't in withdrawals. I wasn't even using alcohol daily. However, I was honest about the experiences I had, about blackouts, about binge drinking at times, stuff like that. So the guy was super cool again. And even in the insurance, he's like, I know this sucks. I'm sorry, but it's just what they do. Yeah. So he goes through it. He reads, he checks my insurance, and then we're talking some more, and he goes, well, hey, your insurance is great. It covers you. You can come here. And it's like, he tells me the max out of pocket, it's a couple $1,000. It's not cheap, but at the same time, like, considering what they're offering, it wasn't that expensive either. Yeah. But I'm immediately like, what do you mean come out there? I don't need to come to rehab. Yeah. Like, dude, I'm not drinking right now. Yeah. I don't do drugs. Dude, like we've talked about before, I barely take ibuprofen. So for me, like, quote unquote, being an addict. Yeah. I wasn't an addict.
You just wanted some quick, like, who can I go talk to locally?
Yeah. Just literally trying to find the local resources that could potentially that, be the doctor that I could go talk to, and not have to explain what firefighters do. Right?
Exactly.
Like you want to have that legwork done when you arrive. So the person talking to you is like, hey, I get what you guys go through.
Okay.
Anyway, so he said, well, we do have stuff like that, but man, based on our conversation, he goes, it sounds like you got a lot going on, and I think you could benefit from this place.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm sure I could. I go, I'm open-minded. I can benefit from anything. It's like going to a training class. You don't always get a great, sometimes it's just a nugget or two. Sometimes you're just getting a piece of paper out of a fire class, as we all know, but you hope for the best.
For sure.
So I said, yeah, I get it. But at the time, right, I'm so stuck in that fireman mode of, dude, I have like the next few months already scheduled out, right? I've got multiple classes I'm gonna take. I've got multiple classes I'm gonna teach.
Yeah.
I've got 2 probationary employees working for me that I'm evaluating.
Yeah.
Who I feel very responsible for to be at work.
Yeah.
My marriage is hanging on by a thread at this point.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's pretty much almost over.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I can't leave. What are you talking about? And not to mention, it's like, why would I go to a place when I don't need rehab? Like, I don't need to detox. I don't need medicine. I don't need these things. Like, I just need to, have some talk therapy, help me figure out what it is, like, what's the stuck point I'm in? What's the blind spot I have? Pick your cliche. And so basically, like, that was kind of where I was at, right? So that first phone call for me was very much like, I don't, that's pretty intense. Like, I don't think I need to do that.
Yeah.
But as I told you before, I had that little voice in my head that was kind of saying, oh, hey, there might be something here. Hey, there might be something here.
Why not try?
Yeah. Now, I think I called them at the end of February of this year. So, what's really cool is as soon as you've called and you've given them your info, they start following up with you. So every single day following that day, I think almost every day, they might have missed a day here or there, but I got a text message, an email, or a phone call.
Okay.
And the first guy I talked to, hey brother, it's so-and-so from so the Center of Excellence, I'm going to refer to it as the COE.
Okay.
Everybody out there just calls it the COE, typical fireman acronyms, right? So he's texting me, hey, it's so-and-so from the COE, checking in on you, brother. How you doing today? You hanging tough? Well, meanwhile, I'm still on duty. I'm still working.
Okay.
So I'm in the throes of like, I'm good. Like, I'm at work. I don't feel like I'm commanding fires. I'm running calls like normal in a busy city. Our engine, we run, right?
Yeah.
And, I got my probies. We're doing lots of training, and so I'm balancing all this at the same time. And it was cool to have somebody that was texting, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, okay, it's the typical fireman attitude. Yep. I'm like, they just want me to come out there because they want to make money.
Exactly.
And, but I will say that it was nice to have someone little tiny just contacts from that, because at this point too, like, my friends know, my wife knows, my fire chiefs know, like, I've been talking to people. I'm open about the fact that, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm not debilitated. I'm not, I'm not like, it's not like I can't get out of bed and function. Like, the weird part is like everybody was saying, like, dude, you seem fine. Like, we think you just kind of had a quick lapse in judgment, made a mistake. And that's not like you. It's uncharacteristic. Like, so everybody had compared everything I'd been doing for years and years and the person that I am. And they just kind of said, hey, gee shucks, shake it off. We're good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that they weren't caring about me. It was like my exterior presentation, that mask I had on was showing that, dude, I'm a rock. I'm solid. And everybody's like, hey man, you're good. Like, we're going to weather the storm. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Do these things and everything's fine. So that was kind of like the initial parts of my introduction to this facility. So go into early part of March, and through discussion I did find a local therapist, hit it off with her. She was the first person that got me to really it took her a while, maybe put 2 or 3 sessions I saw her before I accepted the fact that maybe there was something to job-related trauma.
So you talked to him in February, you said?
I called the Center of Excellence at the end of February. And at this kind of in conjunction with that, because I was doing all this like bang, bang, bang. I went to the EAP, didn't work out. Like, within the 2 days, I was like on the phone with COE. Within a day or two of that, I was talking to this other therapist that I did hit it off with. So this was all in the span of like a few days.
That was my question. So you got the EAP, that whatever, did that thing. You talked to the guy, you had a connection, like, this could work, some questions, whatever. Here's
on
another
the COE, right?
On the COE, here's opportunity. had that conversation, and then you were then with some professional help,
a doctor here.
All this within a week or so.
Yeah. It's,
okay. Cool.
Yeah. All within a week. I mean, obviously I take stuff seriously. And when I recognized that I was starting to exhibit behaviors, and starting to have thoughts about just like not giving a shit about stuff. And being kind of like really angry and just pent up with stuff. That was when I was like, okay, I have to do something here.
Okay. So now you had a path you were going down that seemed like you were going to get some answers.
Trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay, yeah. Because at the COE, it's still, I'm like, dude, I don't need to go there.
Yeah. Okay.
So this therapist I'm talking to, she identifies, basically PTSI, right?
Okay.
Post-traumatic stress injury.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we in the fire service, we hate PTSD.
Yeah.
The acronym.
Yep.
We all associate it with weakness. We also associate it with people who just want to get a psych medical retirement.
Yeah.
There must be a scam, and hey, if you can't do this job, just get out of here. It's not for you, move on. There's the door, kid.
Exactly.
Like I work in a department similar to that too, with that mentality of just kind of like, we're sharks, man. We're in a shark tank and we're brutal on each other.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking in the mirror, like, I don't feel like I can't do the job. It's like, I don't feel any of that. I feel fine. I'm not like no nightmares. I'm not avoiding things. I'm not like, in fact, that's kind of where I feel at home, is running calls and feeling like I can do the job, man. Like, that's it. Like, home life is what's falling apart.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. Right.
Yep.
So I was really
on top of it. You really were.
Oh, but I was really, really struggling with thinking that the job had anything to do with this stuff.
Got it.
I was like, no, this is all home stuff. So I was taking all the stuff fully responsible on myself, right?
Yep.
So back to the Center of Excellence. The early March, again, they're contacting me constantly. They're calling me every few days on a check-in. Probably the first week of March was when I finally accepted that, the job is a big cause of this. So I filed a workers' comp claim.
Okay.
Based on advice from the therapist.
Uh-huh.
We actually have a really bitchin' program in Fresno for our fire department where we have a safety captain position. We call it the wellness captain.
When you tell me about this, I was like, dude, explain that. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So for anybody that's out there that doesn't have something like this, following the accident when Pete Dern fell on the roof of a garage, they created this position to help facilitate claims from firefighters through our city, because we're a decent sized organization. Because most guys were afraid to file claims because of fraud, because of feeling like, when they first go in, they're going to get denied, because that seems to be the norm, right? Is like immediately your claim's denied.
Exactly.
And of course that puts firefighters off, because most of us are pretty honest. Most of us have integrity. So when you question our integrity, it pisses us off.
Yeah.
And so you hurt yourself, you hurt your back at work, but maybe it's not, an obvious injury. Maybe it's just something that you tweak your back at the station, and you don't really want to say like, yeah, I'm hurt, man, I can't work. And of course there's the peer pressure of the culture that we work in. So personally, I've had good experiences with workers' comp. Like, I blew out my ACL at a structure fire in 2019.
Yeah.
I was taken care of very well, but I was an advocate for myself, which is also going to tie into my story here about this. You have to be the one making the phone calls. You have to be the one following up. So this captain position kind of takes some of that legwork out of it so that you can just heal.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool position, because that person, the one we had in our position, he's great. He does a phenomenal job. So the second you call him, on it, brother. So like when I called him about this, I was super hesitant. I said, I don't know, man, if there's something wrong with me or not. Like, I feel fine. Like but there's something nagging, like something's there. I need to address something. Like, I think it's something I can figure out, but I said, I don't know, man. I'm out of my element here. And I was like, nobody's been able to give me answers. And this is what this therapist is recommending that I do, is file this workers' comp. And he's like, dude, I think it'll go well, because you're not saying I have PTSD, and I wasn't self-diagnosing. Right?
Yeah.
I was kind of doing the opposite. Like, I don't really think I have a problem,
but
I do, you know what I mean? It's like, I just didn't know. So I was kind of like, hey, this is what these people are supposed to do. So I'm telling you, like, this professional who has a degree as a doctor is telling me I have this. So I think I want to get checked. I'm like, if they end up denying it, I'm not going to freak out.
Yeah.
I go, and he's like, absolutely, let's do it. Well, dude, they were great. And they took care of me. They accepted the claim immediately. I mean, I went in my first intake interview with some of them, the doctors, they're like asking me the classic signs and stuff. So you having nightmares? Like, no, I mean, I have intrusive thoughts occasionally, but like not really. It's not debilitating. I don't drink because I'm trying to avoid thoughts and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. I wasn't like remembering all these horrific calls I've been on. But one of the docs asked me some questions, and he was very like dry, and he says, well, give me some specific instances. And I said, well, I don't know, man. I mean, there's not really calls that stand out. There's so many, over this career that I go, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of kids dead. I've seen a lot of, a lot of violence, a lot of like really sad, tragic fires. I mean, everything, right? And he just kept pushing. So finally I said, oh, okay. So I just started launching off on some of the more gnarly shit I'd seen. Well, in the span of about 10 minutes, I had the guy crying.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and he literally said, that's some of the most horrific stuff I've ever heard. And I'm like, yeah, that's off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I haven't even started telling you about other things that I've probably forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
So he goes, no, well, this is absolutely, he's like, these things enough, just these few things you just told me. Yeah. I think he asked me for 4 instances. I gave him 6, just as like, here you go. How about that?
Real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And so, he goes, just these 6 alone is enough to like literally give you a psych retirement. He goes, this is insane. And I go, yeah, well, I'm not special. This is all of us.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not unique. This, I've been on a lot of runs, but so have my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Like, we all see this shit.
Yeah.
And I handle it better than most of them is what I thought. And I still do think I do probably. But, point being is that workers' comp was great, but I'd already made the decision that, I was going to go to the Center of Excellence.
For sure.
I'm getting ahead of myself on that. So I filed the workers' comp claim, but what I did was I went, COE called me again. This is like the first week of March. And they said, well, hey, have you decided, do you want to come in? And I said, okay. I go, I've got all these classes lined up, of course, cause typical fireman, we can't put aside the job. We can't put aside the things we have scheduled because we're too important, right? In our minds, we think that like the world's going to fall apart without us. And hey, I gave my word. I'm going to teach this class. I'm going to do this. So I don't like breaking my word. I don't like breaking plans. So I was like, well, the first available time I have, is basically end of March, early April. So can you guys just sign me up for a bed then? I was like making a reservation at a hotel or something. And I'm thinking in my head, like, well, that's kind of silly because if I was really that screwed up, like, shouldn't I go right this second?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
But, and I'll be honest, I was probably, resistant to it at the time. So I kind of did it just to get them off my back.
Yeah.
Thinking, probably subconsciously thinking like, yeah, I can just push it off and cancel it later. But that was kind of like to appease them.
Yeah. And
just say like, yeah, okay. So they did. They said, okay, yeah, no worries. So they signed me up to come at like the end of March. So I think my intake date was going to be like March 28th, 29th, something like that.
So if you like
3 weeks out.
Exactly.
Like 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
And that was like, yeah, that probably first week of March, right? So then a few days later, again, they're still texting, emailing, calling, how you doing today, brother? You're having a good day, blah, blah, blah. So then I get a call from that same guy that I talked to on the intake call. And, he said, hey man, he goes, I get it. I've been in your shoes. And he goes, but I've had all these things happen. And he goes, and the first time it happened, and the second time it happened, the third time it happened, the fourth time it happened. I just thought, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. He's like, it sounds like you're in that early stages of this. And he goes, but what it leads to is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And that hit me. I'm like, okay. Not that I'm better than anybody. I'm a human being. So I'm thinking like, okay. And he goes, I think the sooner you get here, the better.
Yeah.
He goes, I think you'll be blown away. This place is amazing and you'll get a lot out of it. And he goes, but I don't want to push it. Right. So I'm like, yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Get off the phone. And I was driving somewhere and then I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I've never been afraid to do anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sailed across the ocean by myself. Right. So like, why am I putting this off?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, my wife, my friends, chiefs, people all around me were telling me like, cause I discussed it openly about the potential to go to this place.
Okay.
And people felt like it was too much. They're like, dude, you don't need to go to a residential inpatient treatment facility. Like, that's pretty intense, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're not this guy. Like, but again, I knew there was more to it. It wasn't just that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, and it's all firefighters. So like, where else in the world would I be able to get this kind of care and also disconnect? And that's going to be part of it too. That's a huge part.
Yeah.
Cause I'd read online about how they take your cell phone and this stuff. So
okay.
I had all this other noise coming at me every single day. Right. And so 2 hours out, I think it was about 2 hours after I got the phone with this guy from the COE, I called him back and I said, hey, send it. I'm ready.
Okay.
Like, when can you get me in?
Yeah.
And this was like, I'm going to say March 7th or 8th.
Okay.
He's like, we can get you in on the 14th. So like within a week. And what I will say is that if anybody is hearing this, if you call them and you're literally suicidal, rock bottom, you know, you can't stop drinking, you can't stop taking drugs, they're going to get you in immediately.
Perfect.
The director out there, the guy's a 10. He's
Okay.
an amazing guy. And he will make sure that they will move heaven and earth to get you to this facility as soon as possible.
Perfect.
So when that phone call is made, my whole thing, it was me delaying the process. It was not them.
Okay.
So hopefully as anybody hears this, they don't think like, oh, wow, this seems like a long time. It's like, no, that was voluntary because of me. It was me putting them off. So again, you call and you're like, hey, I'm fucked up.
Need help now?
They're going to tell you, get on a plane.
Okay.
Like that's what they're going to tell you. And then they're going to figure it out on their end.
Okay.
They're unbelievable.
Okay.
So I scheduled it. You know, and of course I don't want help. So I rent a car. I drive down to Los Angeles and I get on the plane. You know, my guys here that I work with offered, hey, you need any help? You need a ride down to the airport? You need this, you need that. And nope. I got it. Of course, I don't want to accept help. Wife wanted to drive me down there. I said, no, I got it. I don't want to inconvenience you. Life goes on. This is my thing. Yeah. So I rent a car. And I go down, which was actually, ironically, it was like a convertible Mustang. So I felt like a complete douche when I picked it up. It was pretty funny. So I was like, oh, this is my midlife crisis. I'm renting a convertible Mustang to go to rehab. You know? So,
did you put the top down?
Just for my wife to show her how stupid it was. And then I just drove it.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I tried not to fully embrace the douche.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So the next morning, dude, I got on the flight in LA and I flew out. And so I flew to Washington DC, and the center, COE, they organize the ride for you.
Okay.
I mean, all you got to do is show up, right? So I get there, van picks me up, guy's great. And, he's what they call a BHT. They call them behavioral health technicians. So they're basically people who work for the facility. They've got some basic training in emergency medicine and just kind of like behavioral health.
Okay.
But, they're kind of like the go-to people around the facility that just help the place keep running, right? They're not the doctors and the clinicians or the director or any of that, but you have a lot of interaction with BHTs while you're there.
Okay.
So anyways, one of them picks you up and you drive to the facility, and it was about a 40-minute drive from the airport, and you're going through DC. So it's cool. You see a bunch of cool stuff, but then you start going out in like the little foothills and you're going into Maryland. And then you go out to this place and you pull up to the gates and you pull inside and you park in front of the first administration building. And then within 5 minutes of my van arriving, I mean, there was 5 or 6 people, so patients that were there who were firefighters from all different places.
Okay.
At the van. Like, hey brother, welcome. How you doing, man? What's your name? Hey, okay, I'm Shane. Yeah, I'm so-and-so. I'm so-and-so. I'm so-and-so.
Yeah.
I'm from this place. Where are you from, man? I'm from California. Oh, hey, listen, you're in the right place. I know it's gnarly. We've all been in your shoes. I've been here 3 weeks. This person's been here 2 weeks. This person's been here 4 weeks. You know, I mean, they start full intro, typical firefighters. We got you, brother. And good feeling, but at the same time, you're standoffish. Like,
who
hey,
are you?
Like,
yeah,
you know, like give me some space.
Yeah.
I'm still processing. I'm at fucking rehab. This is gnarly. Like, what did I do? Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's all getting real.
Yeah.
And, again, it's voluntary, but it still feels very, intense.
Oh, for sure.
So you go into the intake procedure and it does get real. Let's see. So the first interaction was a nurse. So I got there in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the nurse goes, okay, we're going to take your vitals. So she starts asking you all these questions. You know, are you suicidal? Do you want to hurt yourself or somebody else? You know, do you take meds, medical history, all that. It's pretty standard type stuff. And then it goes into the strip search. Okay. Strip your clothes. And meanwhile, while you're sitting there, dude, they're going through your bags. They're checking all your stuff. And so it's very, especially as a fire captain, firefighter, we are usually the ones in charge. Yeah. To have that, to just turn over that kind of control to somebody is very unnerving. Yeah. And, you know, and not that they're like rifling through your stuff. It's their process, but they're pulling out your laptop. Okay. And then they're documenting, you know, MacBook Air. And then they put it in a little like bag and zip it up and they take it away. Yeah. And they go, oh, your wallet. They take your wallet. They take your money. They take your credit cards. They take everything. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. And then it's like, okay, well, we need your strip because they want to make sure you're not smuggling something in. Yeah. Like a prisoner. Right. Yeah. Just bend over and cough. I'm like, holy holy shit, okay, it's pretty demeaning, right? But at the same time, again, it's not in a way that I never felt like I was demeaned by them.
Yeah.
That's their process. So
it's just something that's different. And you're like, wow, this is real. This is pretty more intense than I thought it was going to be. Like, it got real is what it sounds like. And you're like, I just came because I had a bad night, had a couple drinks, and I just want to get some help. And now it's like, here we go, Shane. Let's strip you. Let's.
You're an inmate. I mean, that's how you feel. Like, cool, I'm in prison now, you know? And then you go to an observation room, you get a bed, everything's there for you. You get a little locker next to the bed. I mean, it's a nice facility. It's clean. You have everything you need. There's, showers and all this stuff. But this observation room, you have to be there for a few days because they're used to addicts saying, I'm okay. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I have control of it, but they don't. So, they want to observe you for a few days. And also if you're suicidal, right? So I go in there and there's probably 30 guys that particular night in this room because it's also the nurse's station where medication is handed out. And so, I walk as I walk into the room, put my bags down, and I kind of go take a shower, and I come out, and the guys are like, same thing, like, hey brother, what's up? Who are you? They're introducing themselves. And some of these guys they're pretty rough. I mean, some of them have had some serious issues going on for a long time. I mean, big time drinking issues, big time drug issues, which blew me away, the kind of stuff that's going on in the fire service. I had no idea.
And these are active guys.
Active guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Driving ladder trucks, high.
Yeah.
Fighting fire, high.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get ahead of myself, but one of the craziest / funniest things I heard was a guy, and I won't tell you where he's from, but he basically told me, like, fighting fire drunk is really fun, but fighting fire high is scary. And I'm just sitting there going, holy shit. Like, is this guy, and like, this is 2023, right? This isn't 1950.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, that stuff's still going on in this nation, right? So,
all
of them
they're
had the best
stripping you
intentions.
down.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm in the observation room. I have my bed. It's the first night, right? So, I didn't sleep for shit the first night. Multiple reasons, obviously mind's going a million miles an hour. I'm away from home. They take your cell phone away, and you don't realize like how we have become so attached to that stupid thing that, you can't get away from it. And so like, I'm sitting there, and every time something goes through my mind, I reach to get my phone to like look it up or to send a text or what. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have it. So like, I open a book and I can barely read a page. I mean, I'm reading half the page and then my mind's just all over the place. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to go to sleep, and then there's noise, and it's a new place, all that stuff. And then finally, whatever. So the morning comes, and you're like thrown in the blender. There's no easy, like, hey, we're going to ease you into this. It's like, hey, there's class. So you get up at 7, you do your vitals. After your vitals, you immediately go to, the chow hall, kitchen. So they cook 3 meals a day for you. So you go get breakfast. They have lots of options. They do some hearty meals, but they have some health options on the side too. And it's good food. It's cafeteria food for the most part, but it's, like, you're in rehab, dude. You're not on holiday.
Yeah, you get fed.
Yeah, you get fed. So, I go into the chow hall. I get a little breakfast coffee, sit down with some guys, and getting some intros. And then I said, well, what's the flow? And they explain to me, well, class starts at 8:30. There's 2 classes in the morning, then we do lunch, then there's 2 classes in the afternoon, and it's either a graduation day or you get about an hour for your cell phone, or you can work out, you can do whatever. And then there's an AA meeting at night, and usually a lot of people go to that. And then people do study. They make a big bonfire. They bring firewood for us. Guys go down there and they talk around the bonfire, and they kind of come up with some stuff like that, right? So they're like, you'll kind of find your flow. Yeah, cool, whatever. All right, so I go to the classes and I do all that stuff. And the first few classes were great because the way that they have it broken up is similar to like what we want to do with the podcast, where it's specific topics. So it's not the broad brushstrokes of, let's talk about PTSD. I mean, it's like, dude, how many times can you define PTSD? Like, we all get it. We know what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's like, let's get specific.
Yeah.
So that was it, man. Like, first class that I was in, ironically had to do with grief. And grief was something that I kind of had a feeling had something to do with my shit, because I lost a lot of friends in the last 10 years. And I lost both my parents in the last couple of years, but some of my friends I lost tragically. I lost some guys in a storm in Avalon, Catalina, when I lived over there.
Yep.
I've lost guys on the job. I've had buddies hurt tragically and severely. And I, as a scuba instructor, I've lost people diving. I've had a couple people have heart attacks underwater. I had a buddy of mine almost die on a technical dive, another buddy die on a free dive.
Yeah.
So, it's like, but I've always like, and it's what was fucked up, right? You and I talked about crying. I couldn't cry. So like, even at my own mother's funeral, my mother died right here in my living room, and, I didn't hold her funeral for like 4 months. And when I did, I got misty eyed and choked up, but I didn't like lose my shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't even lose my shit in private. And that I knew something was off about that.
Yeah.
So anyways, great. I was like, cool, this is a good topic to start with. And it's presented in about an hour and a half format. And I thought it was really good because the way that the clinician presented it, it was very interactive. And here's the cool part. So you're actually in a classroom in a fire station. So the center is designed where they have 4 buildings it's fire stations 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
So when you report to class, you're given a class schedule, and if you're grouped based on your diagnosis, whether you're in mental health or your primary diagnosis is substance abuse.
Okay.
So whichever group you're in dictates the flow and where you go. So anyway, so you read your group, and hey, you're going to station 1, 8:30 for grief. Okay, so I go to whatever station it was, and I walk in, and it's crazy because it's like a day room. It's a bunch of recliners.
Really?
Yeah, TV on the wall, whiteboards. I mean, it's a day room in a firehouse.
Got it.
So you kind of like, oh, so you feel at home. There's all the fire geek stuff on the walls. There's helmets and pictures and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. You're like, okay, this feels comfortable. It's not a sanitized environment where you feel like you're under the bright white light in this institution, like you're a lunatic, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of chill. Everybody's like in their chairs. Everybody's dressed pretty lax. And everybody's got their books, and you get a binder and stuff. So you sit down, and the class just starts. And the teachers are great. They have a real good structure to this. And then throughout the days, and it doesn't all happen in one day, but throughout the days, you get pulled into the administrative building periodically to meet with various people. So initially you meet with a behavioral health technician who does an intake on you. They call it biopsychosocial.
Oh, okay.
And this is a person who she's becoming a clinician. And so she brought me in, and we talked for like 2 hours just about, they go into your childhood, they go into like your job stuff, like your marriage, everything. And they try to get like a snapshot of who you are. And they're entering what they believe notes and diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
Then you go to another doctor who's kind of specializes in internal medicine, and that person talks to you a bunch, and that person enters notes, and then you go to a clinician, and then you go to a psychiatrist, and it's the same. So what they're doing is they're collectively coming up with a snapshot of who you are, and then comparing the notes. So I like that because it wasn't a single person just saying like, hey, Shane's fucked up because of this.
Yeah.
It was, well, hey, he said this over here, he said this over here, and they combine it and they go, oh, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And so then they put you on a track based on that, which I really appreciated.
For sure.
Because it was, but I will tell you, it's as a firefighter, you think day one you're going to get the packet that says, okay, Eric, here's your keys to success. You do these things, you're going to be fine. Because you're thinking in your head, like, I ain't going to be here for 30 days.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to bust my ass and get out of here, right? And so the average stay there is 35 days.
Okay.
I was done sooner than that, but not because I fast tracked or anything. It's like I truly was in a position where like I wasn't down at rock bottom, fortunately. And this isn't a knock against anybody. It's just that
it's
like
where you were
it
at.
Takes a process. Everybody's different. It takes different times. It's like if you go all in sooner or later, so I was all in from the very beginning. Even after I got past that early trepidation of what the hell did I do? Where am I? And that's another whole thing we can talk about through trauma type stuff. But like, going through the classes was great. Going and meeting with all these individuals was great. And then I've told you this story, but I'll repeat it just so that other people can hear it. That first night I was there, obviously didn't sleep much. Next day I go to classes, I do the stuff. It's a lot, man. You're hearing a lot, and you're listening to people speak in these classes because it's very interactive. It's not just a teacher lecturing you, right?
Yeah.
They want you to give feedback, and they're actually taking notes on you. They want to see, like, are you here? Are you doing this? Or are you just checking the box? And they can tell. And there's firefighters with me in these rooms from Canada, Florida. There was a guy from Nova Scotia. Okay, wow. I mean, all over, dude. It was cool, like literally International Association of Firefighters. So men, women, wasn't just men. And all ranks. I mean, we had firefighters up to BCs. I'm a captain. It's like multiple captains, so it wasn't just like one rank. Yeah. And obviously rank doesn't mean anything there, but it just kind of shows that for sure the issues are varied and wide. Mm-hmm. So, back to, I guess it would have been my second night there. Cause because I arrived there the night before. These guys are saying, "Hey, man, you should come to the AA meeting." And in my head, I'm like, "No,
I'm good."
Yeah, and nothing against anybody that's an AA believer.
Yeah,
I don't want to come off disrespectful or trying to put that program down. Personally, for me, I had looked it up and seen it and thought that's not my jam.
Yeah.
And the reasons why was because a lot of the language, I believe, it's my personal opinion. So I don't mean to offend anybody, but I don't like the negative self-talk.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of what they say, I'm powerless to alcohol. You know, and there's a religious component.
Oh, okay.
And for anybody that's religious, no offense, I'm not
your thing.
None of my business. Don't really care personally, but it's just not for me. Yeah. I don't read the Bible. I don't pray. And I saw a lot of the stuff was based on that. I mean, a lot of the steps are giving yourself to a higher power. And even though, yes, they say, well, it's not necessarily God, it's something else. I just was like, it's just not my thing, you know?
Yeah, you weren't picking it up right now.
Not to mention, I still to this day, I'm not a alcoholic. Like, I don't drink every day. I'm not, and I didn't drink every week, every month, every whatever, you know? So it was like, I abused the fuck out of alcohol. That was my problem.
Yeah.
You know, I just had a very unhealthy relationship with it. But the part of my issues was I had no consequences. See, I wasn't at that point. Could I have been an alcoholic? I was on that track.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's where I would have ended up.
Yeah.
So, no offense to anybody that is, because it doesn't mean I'm better than you. It just means we're at different places on that track, man. You're a little further down the track than I was.
Yep.
Hey, no harm, no foul. We're all in different places. So for me, I at that time, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that. And then I knew sitting at the table, and I would not say, "Hi, I'm Shane. I'm an alcoholic."
Yeah.
That you'd get judged, right? Like you guys would be like, "Oh, this guy's in denial."
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm like, I'm not in denial. I know exactly what my problem is, which I fucking didn't, you know. But at the time, I was very adamant. Like, you know, I knew I just needed to get some work done. I'd be done, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So the guys that, hey man, it's pretty awesome. Like, you will be surprised. These guys really lay it out there, guys and girls. I say guys. I hope if there's any female firefighters listening that I'm not trying to, you know, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And so all of us collectively, they said, yeah, we do some real work in there. You know, everybody talks about the day. They talk about what they're going through. They talk about their stories, and nobody holds back. He's like, you're going to be amazed what you hear. And the thing that got me was, he said, and a lot of the people that go to this meeting every night, they don't even drink. Their issues are they were suicidal, or they were just super depressed, or they're hooked on Xanax, or, you know, weed, or whatever the issues that they were having. So I said, okay. And he said, so it's kind of an open table. They just call it an AA meeting.
Okay.
So that happens at 7:00 at night. So we have chow. I go to the AA meeting and I sit down, and I'm totally skeptical. I mean, I'll be honest now, right? Like, I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of checking the box. I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, part of this is like also to show these guys, I'm not opposed to these things, but in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to sit here quietly.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them all pray.
You weren't fully in, right?
But, yeah, I'm just thinking,
you were reserved in a lot of ways.
I was fully expecting to be, you know, reading out of a book and nothing raw, nothing authentic.
Yeah.
I felt like it was going to be packaged.
Yeah, for sure.
Those kinds of things. And I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I told you this story, but I'll tell it again.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that it's structured out there, and I'm sure it fluctuates based on the people that are there, but while I was there, the first couple guys that were chairing the meetings while I was there, they had it structured where when a graduation process was going to happen, and what that means is, like, once you've completed your program, whether it took you 30 days or 45 days or whatever, they have on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have a graduation ceremony in which you go to this little plaza. They call it the Renewal Plaza. And it's essentially your commitment to your recovery, to your renewed person, like who you are, your renewed self.
Yeah.
And you get a challenge coin, as we all know in the fire service. That's a big one. So and then they kind of honor the people, and then they give everybody in the center, like all the patients, are given an opportunity to speak on behalf of whoever's graduating, like give them positive stuff.
Yeah, like, good job, man.
Hey,
wish the best for you.
Thanks for, you know, helping me, blah, blah, blah. Because you form some pretty intense bonds there, you know, with what you're going through.
Yeah.
And then they give each graduate the opportunity to speak as well, right? So it's a really good, nice little transitional ceremony, because people are going to go back to the real world out of this bubble. You know,
for sure.
This little bubble of safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's scary for a lot of guys. I remember having long conversations with many people who were just like, dude, I don't know if I'm fucking ready for this. Cause, real life's still out there. It's still ugly. There's still stress. And
Yeah.
in here, we're all feeling good and we're
Yep.
positive and we're saying all these like
Yeah.
affirmations. And then, you're doing this work and the cell phone's not there. So you don't even know what the hell's going on in the world. You're not
Yeah.
reading the news.
Yep.
So it truly is a bubble.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
it's a pretty good feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because you're just like,
Yep.
cool. Like everybody here is on the same track. We're all doing this.
Yeah.
And that's not real life.
Exactly.
Like at least I did. But in some
Yeah, you're
guys,
right.
some guys had a harder time with that. So point being, prior to your graduation, if you've been going to the AA meetings a lot, they give you the opportunity to kind of quote unquote, tell your story. And what that really means is like the table's yours, as opposed to like some nights they would just throw out a topic. It would generate open discussion. Everybody would participate. Sometimes it'd go off in different directions, but that was cool because it would be like some people just had things on their chest they wanted to unload.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was great because dude, I heard stuff that probably most guys would never believe you would hear. I mean, we had a guy come out as bisexual at the table. We had a guy, and the beauty of the stuff you hear at that table will never go anywhere else, right? Like, so I would never repeat who that person is, or where that person's from. A guy talked about trying to kill himself in front of his family. Another guy talked about like getting so drunk he's beating down doors, things like that, and being videoed by his family, and the guy's breaking down, which. Mm-hmm. Like the courage it took for him to tell that story in front of 30 fucking men, firefighters no less, that were like a bunch of savages.
Yeah.
I was really moved. And that was later on. I'm getting ahead again, like I always do. But in that first night, the kid that's going to tell his story was 26 years old, something like that.
Okay.
Typical fireman, what am I doing?
You're prejudging. What's this? What does he have to offer? 26, young in the fire service, how many years? Blah, 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 blah.
All the above, dude.
Yep.
I'm like, who is this kid?
Yep.
Oh, what? He went on one call, right?
Yeah.
And now he's got PTSD.
Yeah.
Fuck, we're making a culture of victims. Like this is like, and I'm now part of it. I'm contributing to it, making it okay.
Yeah.
That every time things don't go your way and it's hard, you get to say PTSD. I mean, that's how I was feeling. I'm sitting there going, God damn it. All right, well, let's hear what this kid, and I look at this kid and he's like you, super fit dude, right? Happy guy, bouncing around. Like I'd seen him that first day there. He was, everybody knew him. Big smile on his face all the time. So, similar cat like you, like on the exterior, you never know anything's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking in my head like, oh, this should be good. Let's see what's up.
Yep.
So he starts off and he says, I had a normal childhood growing up, in this state and blah, blah, blah. It was me and my brother, my mom, my dad. And he goes, and I think it was about 8 years old when the neighbor started raping me and my brother. I mean, just full on, that's how he starts.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of like...
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I just literally start looking around the table.
Did he just say that?
Did everybody else hear that?
Yeah.
Did you just say that? How come nobody is feeling like me? I can tell I'm the only one that's like, holy fuck, are you serious?
Yeah.
And so, dude, he launches into this story of how this neighbor... would videotape him and his brother, would pose. Essentially, the guy was making porn with an 8-year-old and his little brother.
Jeez.
And this went on for 3 years.
Wow.
So then he goes to his mother. And this is the kid's story. I'm telling you what he said. I'll never forget this, right?
Yeah.
The kid says, and he's telling it just like I'm telling you a story about scuba diving, just like there I was. Yeah. And there was a turtle and whatever. I mean, he's just saying this shit. He's not breaking down. And I'm going like, how the hell is this dude doing this? Like this is incredible. And I'm thinking like, wow. And he's on the tail end of his journey, right? He's already completed the program at COE.
He's ready to go back to the world. Out.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, wow, okay, man, this guy made some progress. So then he says he goes to his mom when he's 11 and he tells her, he says, I had a feeling something was wrong. So I went to my mom and I told her what's up. And what his mother said to him, he said, she looked at me and said, honey, it's God's will. That was what a mother told an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah. So
you can start filling in all the blanks of the rest of this poor kid's story, what he went through in high school, drugs.
Yeah.
Super confused with sexual identity. Essentially what I could gather, he was like escorts, sometimes pimping himself out. I mean, pretty intense shit.
Yeah.
Religion was a component for him.
Yeah.
His father ended up having another whole family on the side, so this guy went through some shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, his shit wasn't really job related.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. Like he never told any story. He talked about how, first he got in the Marine Corps And then something happened when COVID hit where the budgets kind of fell out. And so like they cut his platoon or whatever he was in. I mean, I'm spitballing some of the facts, but point being was like he found a purpose, but then it was taken away from him.
Exactly.
So then he fell back into drugs, alcohol, sex addiction, all that stuff. And then he found the fire service. So again, there was a boost, a happy time where he was like able to put in, because, you're going to the academy, you're doing all the right stuff. He gets hired. Well, once that honeymoon wears off and the grind of the job. So he did talk a little bit about that stuff, but you could tell like his issues weren't really job related.
Yeah.
Like this shit was trauma from his childhood, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Eric, that was the first time that I really realized, and I started thinking about people that we work with, people that we've all sat across the table with and had a cup of coffee with and judged for their behaviors, for their attitudes, for our perceived our perception of them lacking discipline on the job, lacking caring about the job, lacking that sense of duty, right? Like, so this person doesn't do enough. This person doesn't care enough. This person doesn't try hard enough. You shouldn't even be a firefighter, right? And it's like, I still think you should. I still think you have to care. I still think that if you want to be a good firefighter, like, you have to do all those things.
Of course.
But I am never going to forget that. And it's always going to be part of my arsenal now as a captain to consider what a person's been through. And not that I want to like pry into their lives and have them tell me those things, but just, kind of be able to suss out that do people do things and act certain ways for lots and lots of reasons. And it's not solely because they don't care or it's beyond their control. I mean, we talked about the SGB shot and we talked about how I told you, like, it goes into where I firmly believe like you can work your ass off, but you can't beat your biology. And if your biology is so used to, like, as a kid, you're getting your ass whooped or you're getting molested or whatever. You're in constant fight or flight. And so from that early of age, like your body actually doesn't know anything else.
It doesn't.
That's all you know.
And then you're going to a job where that's how you're trained to be too. But now, like now there's paths to help that if you notice that as a captain or as peer support or as a fellow fireman or whatever. But go ahead, sorry.
No, it's good. I mean, and that's so that literally that's my second night, bro. I haven't talked to my wife because when you first get there, I think they take your phone for like 3 days. They basically just want you to like detox from tech for 3 days. Like just be here, be present, absorb the process. Of course, anything like in the fire service, we all have our little sayings and acronyms. They do too. Like a lot of times you're going to hear trust the process. It gets the bumper sticker cliche, but it's truly like you got to trust the process because typical firemen, we want to get there day one, have all the answers, put in the work and be done with it. And that's not how it works because they've got to crack that thing open slow and pull it out of you with a dump truck. Right. And so, I went back that night and I laid there in bed and I thought about that kid and I just thought, okay, like, I didn't have that kind of childhood. So maybe my shit is job related. And then I said, well, I'm here. I'm going all in. I'm going to do the best I can to dig into this, to see, and maybe it'll be easy. Maybe I'll dig deep and find a lot of stuff comes out. But I just basically, I'm going to trust the process is basically what I told myself. Right.
And what I think is awesome, Shane, is first you realized it. All the stuff leading up to this, there was still some part of you that was still a little reserved, which is totally understandable. But after, for you personally, hearing that story, that was your like, I'm going to go all in. And now you took, even more person accountability of like, I'm going to see what this is about and I'm going to go fix it. You weren't trying to run away from it. You realized it and you made a choice with your mindset to go through with the process and trust it. That's huge because you made that choice internally for yourself. That's a big component.
And it was hard, man. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done for sure was to be able to commit fully. But and then for the next 4 weeks, I was pedal to the metal, man. It was 13 hours a day of intensive classroom therapy, group discussion, individual meetings with clinicians, therapists, psychiatrists. I did the deprivation tank. Which I took you to take. We did that here in my area recently. For anybody that doesn't know, highly recommend it. It's just basically floating in 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in a giant pot. And it kind of, it's dark and allows you to meditate. So, but it's super relaxing because you're zero gravity. I did meditation. I did the SGB shot, which I discussed at length already about how for the first 2 weeks I was there, I was against it because they did. medication is a component of this type of stuff. And
Yep.
I said it in the first thing on the SGB shot about how I was anti-med. I want to reiterate, anybody that takes meds, this isn't a knock against you. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody.
Exactly.
I'm certainly not.
Yeah.
I told you, like we were talking last night, like I've been sick twice in like 13 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't get sick. I don't have physical issues for the most part.
Yeah.
So I tend to like start from a place of, well, there must be, I can clean up my diet. I can exercise more. I can stretch more. I can figure this out without a pill. Now, occasionally, sure, things help. But, some guys need it, right? Absolutely. Some guys need it. Cause, and a lot of it has to do with like chemical dependencies they had. Cause I told you there were guys that were withdrawing hard off stuff. I mean, there was one guy that was, while I was there, he had come from a place that, he showed up to the facility blowing like a 0.2 something. Okay. Cause it was his last chance to drink because he was going to commit to sobriety.
Yeah.
Well, his withdrawal, from what I understand, because it happened before I got there, was about a 10-day process. They were literally carrying this dude up and down hills, wheelchairs. He couldn't, I mean, he was like the struggle bus
was
definition.
For real.
It was real. And to watch him walk out of there, you know, buff because he'd been working out, skin glowing, you know, like all that cliche stuff, but like actually be healthy.
Yeah.
Excited to go back to the life that he essentially destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, between having a super toxic relationship, you know, burning bridges left and right at his department.
Yeah.
And I know now he's doing well. I got a text the other day with a photo from him. He's still on duty. The guys accepted him back because he went all in and he did it right.
Good for him, man.
Yeah. And he's a religious guy. So that was a big component of it for him was he renewed his faith. So I know that for him, that was a huge, strong component, which everybody was supportive of whatever your jam is, right? Like, whatever works for you, I'm down. But, so, you know, and then as I progressed through it, I mean, there was kids that were 22, 23 years old coming in there, which broke my heart because I'm thinking, God dang, man, are we chewing people up in a fire service this early?
Yeah. And
then I realized like, well, what gravitates a lot of people towards this job is their brokenness from when they were younger.
Yep.
So like you know, you and I have talked about this, like, you know, when you felt helpless as a kid or whatever, and it's like now you want to rescue people so they don't feel like you had to feel.
Exactly. And you want to have bigger purpose of, you know, bigger mission than yourself. And exactly.
And we do get people that do this job for the money. We get people that do it for the pension. We know that. But a lot of people, I think, especially anybody who has real empathy, who really gives a shit, or who has any sort of significant issues that they've gone through, it's a component. And it's like you have to be aware of those things. And so anyways, I got the shot. About a week later, I talked to, because you get assigned an individual clinician once they come up with a package on like kind of like your diagnosis and who you are and what they think you need to do to sort of work through it. Yeah. Part of mine was doing a full-blown trauma work, which you and I have talked about. Like there's lots of different ways to do that. Yeah. The SGB is not the miracle, like that's just going to go get it and you can just still be an asshole and everything's going to be fine. Like you got to do the work. Yeah. But so for me, like the trauma work was basic CBT stuff where it was cognitive behavioral therapy. It was simple, not simple, but I mean, it goes deep. It goes deep, but it's the concept of it and the sort of the framework. It's not that difficult. It comes down to discussing a lot, coming up with what drives your thought process essentially. Exactly. So they don't get into the blood and guts of what you've seen and done. Mm-hmm. It's more about like how that's formed your beliefs around life. Yeah. One of the ways it was described to me was the roadmap to life, right? Like, so that happens from, I think it's until you're about 7, your roadmap is sort of drawn out, right? And all of our roadmaps are so different that it just depends. So anyways, I did that trauma therapy, component on top of the classes on top of that. So when I left the facility, I added up the hours.
Did you try doing CBT without the shot?
Yes.
How did that go?
No, it was fine because, and I know this is going to sound like I'm diminishing things, but my quote unquote trauma, I didn't have as much to unpack as other people did. Yeah. I had already been pretty self-aware about a lot of the stuff. Yeah. I got a ton out of it and it helped me really put some pieces of the puzzle I didn't have, right? Those things, those intangibles I couldn't put my finger on. That helped me discover what it was. And I'll say it. I'm not shy to say it. It's like there were 3 main components to my problems, right? And when I say components, there were like a theme to my thought processes. One of them was safety. One of them was control. and one of them was guilt.
Okay.
So those three main ideas and feelings were what were driving my behavior.
Yeah.
So the safety and the control, it makes sense. We hammer safety since you start in the fire service. Everything's safety, 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 safety.
Yeah.
And safety's fine, but you can have that pendulum swing too far.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to be overly safe, become the helicopter parent, become the husband like me, where I don't want my wife to do anything because I don't want her to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm basically like putting her in a prison because I'm afraid some other idiot is going to crash into her, is going to kidnap her, is going to hurt her, is going to shoot her, is going to do something crazy.
Yeah.
Rape her, whatever. I mean, something horrific, because that's what we see at work, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, but it won't happen to me. I'm solid, but now I have this person I care about and I don't want anything to happen to her. So I want to keep her safe in a bubble, in a cocoon. And that's not realistic.
Yeah.
And it becomes toxic.
Yeah.
Control ties into a lot of that, because control for firefighters that's our job. We come into chaos and we control it. We take your worst moment and we bring it, to
bring order to chaos.
Yeah, exactly. We bring order to chaos. So for me, I said, oh yeah, I do control a lot of things. I want control of my life, my finances, my decisions, my schedule, my everything, right? But that control, then overbearing control, starts to create anxiety in your spouse. It starts to create, difficulties in the relationships you have.
Yeah.
Basically, you become that guy who you're always right.
Yeah.
And that's what I was. I was the guy who was literally like, oh yeah, you're always right. Like, you have to always be right. You can never be wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I was, I mean, I admit it now. It was hard to admit, and it was hard to see it that way, because I didn't think I was that way. I thought, no, I'm pretty easy to talk to. Like, people come to me and they want my opinion, but it's because I didn't ask theirs.
Yeah.
I'm just, if you do it. And the thing is, that gets reinforced over the career, because we do things and we're successful with it.
Yeah.
So it imprints in your brain, well, that's the correct response to this. So if you want an example of that, have a discussion at a table about ventilating over an attic fire, right? And just say, hey, what do you guys think? Is vertical vent over an attic fire the move? Is that the correct strategy and tactic? And fucking watch everybody start eating each other, because one guy is going to swear to God and bet you his paycheck that you never vent a fire over, vent a roof over an attic fire. And another guy's going to tell you that's the move. And another guy's going to tell you got to do it with the fan at the door to, because they had some success at some point in their career, or they were taught that, their belief structure is so ingrained in them. And because it's a life or death type of thing, it's such a, like, the consequences are high, right? Like the stakes are high. Yeah. The belief is even stronger. Yeah, exactly. So that control measures that we put in at all times as firefighters bleeds over into our personal lives, and it becomes overbearing. It becomes to the point where, like, you're inflexible in your thinking. Yes. And then that becomes toxic. Yep. And then the last part for me, and this is all personal, like, maybe somebody listening to this might be like, fuck, I think the same way, or I think the same way. That's the goal of our podcast, right? Is to help people realize, dude, you're not alone. Like, huge. Most of us are the same. Most of us feel the same. Yeah. You and I both talked about how Sable used to tell you, I'm not your rookie. Yep. My wife used to say in her little Brazilian accent, I'm not your rookie, and I just said, I'm not talking to you like you're my rookie. Exactly. We don't realize it. But I was. Yeah. I was treating her like she worked for me. Yeah, exactly. And, anyways, my last one was guilt, because I always felt guilty. I was always letting somebody down. Yeah. I felt a huge responsibility of the job. So somebody's getting mandoed. Hey, I feel responsible to cover you so you can go spend time with your wife and your kids. I felt responsible to teach that class so somebody else wouldn't. And so that, because I know that I will give good content. I will give myself into this, and I will make sure that the product is good, because I want it to benefit everyone, because I care about my brothers and sisters. Yeah. But I'm not at home with my wife. So I feel guilty. I should be home with her, right? But then now it's like, okay, well, I'll take a day or two off because you want to teach the class. So I go home with my wife. But now I feel guilty. I'm thinking about you guys. Like, shit, if I was there, I could help. It wouldn't be as hard, whatever kind of thing. So no matter what, I was letting someone down. Yeah. Not to mention I'd lost all these people. So those three basic central themes were what was causing my turmoil, my storm, if you will, inside. Yeah. And that was worked out through CBT. Yep. And now, how do you work through those things, and how do you deal with it, and how do you catch those thoughts and change them and check them and all that stuff? I mean, that's where the SGB shot, like, I don't think I would be anywhere near where I'm at right now without having the ability to get that reset. Yes. Because without that shot, those thoughts would have been going so fast, and you probably wouldn't have been able to focus as soon as you did. Yeah. And being in the bubble was a big part of it too. True. Being in the bubble, I didn't have the outside noise. Yeah. So I think that I probably would have come home and been like, cool, I learned all this stuff. I feel good. I'm solid, right? And then real life's still here.
Yes,
and all
exactly.
the stuff that's been coming at me for the last 2 months
Yep.
would have put me right back in the fight.
Exactly.
Because that was it. I was stuck in like, let's throw down. I'm ready to fight at all times. Like, you are not going to get me to back down.
Yeah.
And I would bet with pretty high certainty that had I not got the shot, a lot of the work I had done out there
would have been lost.
Would have already been undone.
Yep. That happened to me.
Yeah.
It happened to me. Because it's at the biological level, man. Your brain, talked about the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, all that stuff. Yeah, it goes deep in that system.
Yeah, it does. And so it's been kind of a blessing for me to like have these last few months off to be able to take what I learned, take advantage of the shot allowing me to reset and then build this really strong foundation that I'm feeling super solid with now. So I know that going back to the job, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to share this kind of stuff with others, right? And know that the resources are available.
Yeah.
I'll go back real quick because this is obviously we want to stay on the Center of Excellence, but the center, the magic is that again, the book "The Body Keeps the Score." One of the main key concepts that comes from that book is that people heal in community.
Yeah.
Right. And that I've never seen a community like that one where you could heal in community.
Yeah.
And I will say there are patients and participants there that are there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I'll fucking say it. Like there are people who are taking advantage of the fact that you can say PTSD, you can say you're stressed, and they're going to take care of you. So that's the shitty part of this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for the staff, I mean, the staff can't call these people out. They can't say like, hey, they know you're full of shit.
Yeah.
So they're shackled, but they do amazing work with, navigating that process.
For sure. Yeah.
And firefighters are a pain in the ass. You know that. Like, nothing's ever good enough. We all know better than everybody else, right? So, there's a lot of that goes on, but they do a fantastic job of navigating that and keeping you on the path, right?
Yeah.
And they don't put up with bullshit. I mean, so don't get me wrong. But, after I got the shot, after I completed the CBT training and after my wife and I were also doing, marriage counseling once a week via Zoom. Obviously, that's the only way we could do it. But just those sessions alone were great. And why were we doing that? Because as probably most of us, my EAP doesn't cover marriage counseling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, will I pay out of my own pocket? Yeah, I'm willing to pay out of my own pocket. But it was a frustration early on because it's like, fuck, man, my marriage is screwed up because of the job.
Yeah.
So shouldn't the job have to, make sure that I have what I need to keep my family healthy? And that's another whole philosophical discussion that we can have. But the COE was like, no, that's a component of your treatment, right? And dude, I'll tell you right now, like I was an advocate for myself from the start. When I felt like there wasn't something working, I would go and I would respectfully talk to somebody and say, look, I don't agree with this. I don't think this is right. Even part of my diagnosis, I disagreed with.
Yeah.
And my clinician agreed when I sat down, I explained it to her and she looked at it. She said, yeah, no, I think you're right. She goes, and like anything, a lot of documentation for legal reasons, a lot of it's cut and paste, right?
Yep.
So something that got overlooked essentially. I'll just share it. I said on there, it said patient will comply with medication regimen. And I was like, I'm not taking meds.
Exactly.
I want that removed because I don't want somebody down the road to say, well, did you take meds? And I say no. And they go, well, you didn't follow your treatment plan.
Exactly.
And she goes, no, you're totally right. She goes, we don't recommend you to take meds.
Yeah.
She said, based on what you're doing right now and where you're at, we think you're doing well. You're on the right track.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So she removed it. So it's not like they won't do those things for you.
Yeah.
But you have to be the advocate for your own your own plan, your own care, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've said to many guys is like, they give you all the tools. It's the salad bar. You choose what you want. You can bitch all you want about what's at the salad bar.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of options. And it's like, it's really up to you. So if you try something, you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to try it again.
Yeah.
So if you go get it again, I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or if you expect somebody to just make a plate for you and bring it to you at the table, don't bitch about what they bring you.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's right there.
Exactly.
Walk over there, make your own salad and shut up. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but typical fireman, right? We whine and bitch and moan and we want everybody to do it for us and whatever, I mean, it's a weird thing sometimes, but so, nearing the graduation, I knew my wife was ready for me to come home, so I talked to my clinician. I said, look, I need a glide path. I got to figure out, what more can I be doing here? Because I'm not scared to go back to the real world. I'm ready to go back to the real world, but I also don't want to rush through this and, not take advantage of every opportunity. And she said, no, I think you're doing great. So we sat down, we came up with a little kind of plan over the next 7 to 10 days, whatever it was. And, I hit my graduation. I was able to say, what I want to say at the graduation speech. A lot of my brothers and sisters from that facility said some really nice things that, I'll always cherish.
Yeah.
Got my coin, said thank you. Got to thank the clinicians. And one of the things I said at the graduation ceremony that I do believe is like, those people save lives. I mean, we talk about, we always get the credit as firefighters that we're the heroes and we save people and blah, blah, blah. And, but the people who are doing the work out there, I mean, they literally saved my life to a certain extent. I did the work. I'm proud of that.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm not saying that like, I was lost and I couldn't have done it without anybody, but like that fucking place has magic. And it's not because, of one ingredient for the recipe. It's not because of simply it's IAFF or simply because the director is awesome or the clinicians are amazing or whatever. It's a combination of all of it.
Yeah.
The brothers and sisters that are there, they make that place work. That's the engine, the heart, and the soul because it's constant turnover.
Yeah.
I mean, you go there, you're not living. I mean, you're there for a month and a half, 2 months, and you're out, dude. But there were people that were there for a second time. There were members that went home and relapsed, and they had to call back. And that I thought that was amazing too. I'm like, cool. Well, it's not a one and done. So like, if you go there and you do the work and you go home and you run into a problem where fuck, I wasn't ready, or I thought I was ready and this wasn't enough. Like, it's there. So as much as I feel solid as a rock right now, I don't feel like I'll have any of these issues in the future where I don't recognize things or I binge drink because I'm trying to because that's the only way I can go to sleep, stuff like that. Or numb out all the fucking noise in my head and the racing thoughts. Like, I don't see those things happening in the future.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, man, it's a good feeling to know that phone call, that place is an ace in the hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I know they're going to open another one in Hemet.
Okay.
One of the things I told a lot of people, I think I told you this, is there's a map of the United States that they have in I think it's in Station 4 at the COE. And you put a push pin into the city or the place you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
And as I looked at that, I'm big on like data and stats and stuff, but you could see clusters. And it hit me. I'm like, well, one guy had to take the first step or one girl had to take the first step, right?
Yeah.
And so I could see these giant clusters in states throughout the United States, right? Well, I was the first pin in the Central Valley right there, like where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I hope that over time that cluster grows.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it will.
Heck yeah, it will.
I mean, I not that I want everybody to have to go to this or go through this. And so, but I can tell you right now that like, you don't have to be at rock bottom. You don't have to have your life in shambles.
Yeah.
I wasn't in debt. I'm not in debt. I wasn't waking up in gutters. I wasn't beating my wife. I wasn't missing work. I wasn't calling off sick. I wasn't drinking at work. There was a lot of stuff that, people that were there that I talked to were doing. And I mean, there were guys that on duty were drunk. Like one guy, they're like, dude, we smell beer on your breath. What the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And he just was so like lost that he had gotten drunk the night before shift and just showed up for shift. And he didn't know why. And he's an awesome guy, but, so I mean, various stages, right? Like everybody's struggling with things, but if you're just like, even if you just don't know what's going on,
just go,
just call him. Well, just call him. Call him. It's not that you gotta go. Just call him. Because, as I told you, there's a guy I work with who, when I got back, I spoke to him and I said, he said, hey brother, how you doing? And I was very open. I told the people that I work with, I was like, I know HIPAA, you guys will protect my privacy, but I was like, share with the guys where I'm at. If anybody asks you, tell them I'm at in this, because I got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to talk shit, you're not gonna bother me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty confident in myself. So I said, I know there's people that need help that I work with.
Exactly.
And especially typically the ones that act the toughest are the ones that need the most, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I said, let them talk shit. I don't care. The good guys and the good girls, the people that care about not just me, but like the department as a whole, and I know that they're interested to hear about this stuff. So anyways, this individual called me. He said, hey, how'd it go? I said, oh, it's great, man. I said, fuck, I feel so good. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready to, move on and like renew and all this stuff. And, he goes, yeah, I called them last year. And I said, oh shit, really? Why? And he told me, he said one night late, he was in a dark place, and this guy doesn't drink. He's not a drinker. So, like a lot of times when you drink or substance abuse, right, that's when you get to dark places. No, he was just in a dark place, and he was having suicidal ideations, and he literally didn't know who to call. He didn't want to call the normal suicide hotline or whatever because he wants to talk to a fireman.
Yeah.
Wants to talk to someone that understands it, right? So he called it, and he said, dude, they talked to me for hours. He goes, the guy I talked to, he goes, and that's it. I've never called again. He goes, they text me a bunch and called me a bunch and emailed me a bunch afterwards, just kind of following up. But once I consistently kept saying like, no, I've been good, I'm solid. And then he also sought out his own therapy. So the point being, right, like if anybody out there is struggling and you're like, well, Shane's story is that he went to this place for a month. Like you don't have to result in going there for a month. It's a huge resource to leverage that your union dues pay for.
Yeah.
Like it is entitled to you.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it.
Heck yeah.
Right. Call them, talk to them. It's a free phone call. If you're having dark thoughts, if you're not even sure what's going on, just call.
Yeah.
No, the person you talk to on the phone is not a full-blown licensed therapist clinician and they're going to sort out all your problems. That's not what the intent is. But the people that answer the phone have been down those roads and they can talk to you. And the anonymity allows for some freedom for discussion that you may not feel comfortable in your own circle.
Yeah.
So I can't encourage that enough is like, and I can tell you that, all your bullshit reasons to not do it, just like mine, all you're doing is delaying it.
Exactly.
And that train is on the tracks and it's picking up speed.
Yep.
You know, it's not for everybody. Don't get me wrong. If somebody's hearing this and you're like, I think I'm pretty good. Maybe you are.
Yeah.
Maybe you are. It's not that I'm saying everybody needs this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like, if you have that little voice in your head, if you have that little nagging thought, that splinter in your brain, whatever it is, that's like, something's not quite right.
Yeah.
Like, dude, leverage all these resources.
Yeah.
Leverage them and use them. It doesn't mean you have to go to these places, but start doing the work, right? Yep. Combine it with the therapy, combine it with reading, research, go to classes, listen to podcasts, go get the SGB shot if you need it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many ways around it. And, and the center is just, like I said, it's a magic place. Go online. You can read the Google reviews that guys put. Almost every single review on there says that, the COE saved my life. The COE saved my life. And I can tell you that many, many people that I saw go through that program, I'm very, very positive that these doctors, clinicians, the director, everybody in his staff, they saved these people's lives because these guys and girls were coming to this place at rock bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was their last chance. I mean, so, what an amazing resource that we have in the fire department, no matter where you work. I shared and broke bread with paid call firefighters who have only run a few calls in their career on up to city guys like us that ran thousands and thousands, right? So no judgment, no value on like, oh yeah, well, where do you work and who are you? It's just like, it's all a bunch of people that are like-minded, who are figuring their shit out. Yeah. And, it's, like I said, man, it's just a phone call away. It's incredible that it's that easy to just call and go. And then I remember when I, they gave me the van ride back to the airport and, I've been home going on, 2.5 months now, and wife and I are doing phenomenal. Yeah. I feel good. I haven't slept as good in 20 years.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that, man.
Yeah. I haven't, I get up every day with that gratefulness of just like, man, this is cool that I get to get a little bit of a fresh start. Not that my life was so bad before. Yeah. But just getting that monkey off the back of that constant intensity, that spring being coiled, just feeling that ready to snap all the time, ready to go, like all that shit being gone. It's just like, fuck, I can breathe. I can feel good. I'm just like, I'm not cynical right now. I'm not hateful like I was. And I attribute it all to this, and it was the magic of that place. It wasn't one thing; it was all of it collectively. Exactly. It was me opening my mind and heart to the process and going all in. Yeah. My wife supporting me through it, my friends supporting me through it. My friends being, able to lean to. And I'll tell you, I told you before, man, get rid of that phone. That was awesome. Like, to get away from that phone was amazing. And even since I've been back. I mean, you've been around here. I don't get on the phone much. I'm not out talking all the time. I'm not texting all day long. It's just, I try to stay outdoors and do stuff and be focused. But, if anybody out there is in a position right now, especially like if you just don't know what the problem is. Yeah.
It's, like you said, it just takes a phone call.
Yeah.
It's just starting. Yeah. Just starting, man.
And they have the resources. And again, they're supposed to open the one in Hemet. So if you think going to Maryland is your excuse because you can't fly there, I got a round trip ticket out of LAX. Well, I bought a one-way ticket, but it was less than $200.
Yeah.
So all in, I think I paid $400 for my flights. So if you're going to tell me that $400 is something that you can't afford, like, I'm sure that we can find a way.
Yeah.
Another thing I will tell you is that, members that were there with me, many of them, like in this, I was the first one to go from my department. So for me, if someone else needs it, not only will I help facilitate them with their phone calls, their text messages, their emails, and the process of the intake, but I will make sure that that person's flight is organized. They will get a ride to the airport.
Yeah.
Depending on the severity of where they're at.
Exactly.
They might have me sitting in the passenger seat next to them to fly to DC.
Yeah.
And then in the van until they get there.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back home.
Exactly.
Like literally the same day, I'll
right with you,
right
man.
back because, it's what we do. Now, I had buddies that would have done that for me. I didn't let them.
Yeah.
And it was, and looking back, like maybe I should have, because it was probably good for them too.
Yeah.
But I saw it a lot when I was there. I saw unions raise money for, they covered all the out of costs for the guys that were there, taking care of families. I mean, all my buddies, of course, just like you would expect. Hey, if your wife needs anything while you're gone, some emergency at the house, you just say the word. So I had a bunch of dudes on standby that I could easily shoot a text or call to. Yeah. That would have, picked up the slack for me. So, yeah. You can do it if you need to, and it's there for you. And, yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about the place and the people there and just the experience. And ever since I've been home, man, I've been texting and calling these guys and girls that I was with, for that long. And everybody's, it's awesome seeing. Well, I told you yesterday, there's a guy that I love. The kid, he's solid, put the work in, but he already had a relapse. Yeah. And I busted.
And he did not get the, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He didn't get the SGB shot.
And that, again, I don't want to say that's the miracle pill. Yeah. But it's a pretty damn big part of preventing your brain taking you back those dark paths that feel safe. Yeah. Because that's what ends up happening. Yeah. He hasn't known anything other than self-destruction his whole life. Exactly. And so when he got home, and what sucked, man, is like that particular individual, while he was in the rehab, his wife basically told him, well, I intend to divorce you. So when he left, she's like supportive. I'm happy for you. I'm this. And he had found out she was cheating on him. So when he decided to come to the facility, she's, oh, I'm sorry. I fucked up. I'm this, I'm that. I'm going to be with you. And so he's going into this thinking, cool, like when I get home, I'm going to have a supportive wife. Well, like within a week or two, once he's gone and he's at the facility, then she drops the bomb on him that, she has no intention of being with him. Well, then towards the end of it, she's telling him she wants to be. So this poor guy is just getting wrung through the deal. And he gets home and ultimately she does want to file for divorce. So he splits up with her. And he said he relapsed within a few weeks of getting home. And it was like, it sucked because he did so much work when we were there. I watched him. He was all in, meditating, working out like a beast, eating right, sleeping right, journaling, the whole deal. And I told him when we were there, I was like, man, have you like this shot's the real deal. Like you might want to think about this, bro. And he had some serious childhood shit. Yeah. All the other dudes that I've known that got it and also did the work, right, are still texting me. Today's X amount of days sober. I'm doing this. I'm this healthy habit. They replay, one guy bought a Harley, one guy's learning how to play guitar. Yeah. One guy, his wife left him, because she couldn't get over what he did. Yeah. And he knew he actually stayed there. I think he was there like 3 months. Wow. He was there like 90 days, something like that. Maybe a little less. I might be wrong, but he was there a long time. Yeah. And, maybe more like 60 days. I think 90 is a little high. I think 60 days. He was like 2 months. But point being, a big part of his program was because what he had done, he had a sex addiction. He was addicted to porn and he was also like seeing escorts on the side. I mean, pretty intense shit, right? Yeah. And he has a wife, a bunch of kids, and she'd actually like taken him back a bunch of times. Wow. Yeah. And to the fact that like there was guys that like had gotten busted in escort stings by sheriff's departments. I mean, pretty wild stuff, man. And so, but the clinician there that he had, they tried for like a solid month because his wife basically said, while he was there, like, I don't think I can get over this stuff. I don't think that that there's a start over button here, And, so his clinician, she's an amazing person. she was trying really hard via Zoom. This woman was calling his wife on the phone, like on her own.
Yeah.
Giving her basically like therapy.
Yeah.
Discussing the issues, saying this dude's here doing the work. He's trying his hardest. Like, I see a change. He really wants it, but this is what he's going to need. And ultimately, as you know, like, you're the only person that can control you. You're the only person that can do the work for you.
Exactly.
And this guy, I love him. He's still good. He went home knowing that he was going home to the unknown. Like, she could not give him an answer like yes or no. I want to stay together. Well, he got home and it wasn't long, and she said, yeah, I want a divorce. So he stayed in like another part of the house, and then now he's got his own place and whatever. But the point is that the facility supported him through that, right? Like, I mean, what a mind fuck while you're there. You're trying to do this and you don't even know if you're going to go home to a wife, right? And so, and it's his own fault. No pity for the guy, right? Like he accepted his own shit too. So, but it doesn't mean that his recovery is going to be easy now, right? It's one more obstacle to overcome in the scheme of it.
Yeah.
But what I was really proud of him about, I mean, I just texted him the other day, is like, he's doing great, man. He's trying to.
He got the shot.
He got the shot.
Got it.
He got the shot. But he did a ton of work, and he's still doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
He's also, he has faith. He's a religious guy. So, I know that was a part of his component, but yeah, he went home to the unknown. Another example I just thought of was another guy while we were in the facility. He was from the East Coast. His wife was having a tremendous amount of difficulty with their daughter at home. The daughter was basically just teenage girl, out of control, like kind of like bullying the mother around, saying, "Dad's not here. I'm gonna do whatever I want." She's going out all night with her friends, and he's like a caged lion in this facility because he's furious that the daughter's treating the mother this way.
Oh yeah.
So it's impeding his progress in his health and his recovery and everything. And the director, like, I told him, I said, go tell the director, like, just go tell him what's going on at home, because you can't focus on what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what they want to know, but they can't read our minds. Like, you have to like let them know.
Exactly.
And I go, see what they have to offer. Dude, within a half a day, this director had found a local therapist in that dude's town who opened up a slot in his schedule to talk to his wife.
Wow. Yeah.
And basically within a day, this guy was like, yeah, my wife's doing so much better. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, these people care. They will do this for you. If you do it right, if you're not just a whiner that you want everybody to do it for you, you're putting the work in and stuff like that. It's like, dude, you have zero excuses.
Yeah.
You have it all right there for you. And so anyways, man, I could go on and on. And
on.
A lot of stuff keeps coming back to me, but the
purpose is they care.
They care.
They care.
It's you're with people that you will, you'll be blown away what gets shared.
Yeah.
Whether it's a classroom, whether it's at the AA meetings, whether it's just in group discussions, like I said, at night around a bonfire, sitting around lunch or dinner. I know, the things guys shared with me, and I made lifelong friends. I mean, I got guys all through the nation that I text almost every day.
Yeah.
That text me, "Hey bro, having a rough day. This happened. I got this in the mail. Wife did this. This happened." And I'm just like, "Hey, stay the course, brother. It's cool."
Yeah.
And
that goes a long way. And just having, like you said, community to support, when you guys go your separate ways, because depending on what department you work for or whatever's going on, sometimes when that support is lost, maybe you can lapse back into where you were prior, whether you have the shot or not. You don't know how it's going to go, but to know you have a connection with guys, via text message, Zoom or whatever, just to continue that process, to continue the good journey of recovering from whatever it is, the challenge you're getting over or whatever. But
no, doing the work's where it's at. That guy I told you about who didn't get the shot, when he let me know about his relapse, I got on his ass and I said, you need to call the center and you need to tell them that you want to get a consult for the shot.
Yeah.
Period. I'm like, you've done all this work. You've got the tools, you know what to do, but you can't beat your biology. Go get the shot and then continue the work. And I bet you won't relapse again. And if you do, it'll be down the road, things like that. And so it took a couple weeks, but he finally told me he's going to do it, which I'm really happy to hear.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like you're there and then you come home and then it's like, you're on your own. See you later.
Yeah, exactly.
They follow up with you.
Exactly.
So it's pretty incredible what they're doing out there, the whole thing. And I'll leave you with this is, anybody that's hearing this stuff, if you're even taking the time to listen, like, obviously there's a reason why. I mean, you in your mind, maybe you're struggling with something. Maybe you're early in the stages of abusing alcohol occasionally. not sleeping. Maybe you're not, alcohol has nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah.
You're just something feels off. Like
Yeah.
you've never had a suicidal ideation, but
Yeah.
you know, maybe you're apathetic. Your cup is full. You don't feel anymore. Pick your symptom. One of the things that I'm a boatman, right? Like I love boats. I'm a captain. I have a U.S. Coast Guard Merchant Mariner credential, 100-ton. I've had it for 15 years. I have 40,000 miles at sea, right? So I've been around a little bit, and I loved one of the discussions we had was a moral compass. And what I realized for myself was, like we said, right? Like we're all in various degrees of this journey.
Yeah.
And I told you before, like I don't like saying the negative self-talk. So like a lot of guys are like, oh, I'm broken. It's like, no, bro, you're not broken. You're bent, right? Like resilience, like what we're calling this podcast, resiliency in chaos.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to work in chaos our whole career.
Yeah, exactly.
And life in general can be chaotic. So
Yeah.
resiliency is the key. Resiliency is what you have to be and have in order to overcome chaos, bring it to order, as you said. So, I always felt like I was that way. I've always been resilient. Like you knock me down, enjoy it. Cause when I get up, you're in a fight. I'm ready to roll. You know what I mean? Like I don't stay on the canvas. I get up and I dust myself off and I come at it like a lion best I can. Right. You might knock me down again, but again, I'm going to get up.
Yeah.
So that's always been my mentality is just, hey, nothing can keep me down. But the best like analogy I came up with for myself was that I kind of lost my way at sea. And the short version, essentially, when you're navigating on the ocean and I want to sail from point A to point B, it's not as simple as putting that compass needle on a particular heading. So if I want to sail and if I look at a paper chart, right, that's just a piece of paper, A to B, and it says, well, steer the compass at 100 degrees on the magnetic heading. If I just point my boat and I steer at 100 degrees, I'm not going to end up anywhere near my destination. And the reason why is there's all these external forces that are pushing on the boat and knocking it off the course. So there's the wind, there's the swells, there's waves, there's current, right? There's the actual boat itself and how the steering moves. So whether or not you have a rudder or tiller or wheel or whatever it is, any of the stuff, all these things are all parts of the equation on actually navigating, right?
Yeah.
Dude, there's magnetic deviation depending on where you live in the world that pulls the compass off of true north.
Wow. Okay.
So based on where you're at, you have to calculate all of these things in. And it's not a one calculation. Cool. Now I can sail 1,000 miles because I calculated this.
Yeah.
It's a constant adjustment because the wind's always changing.
Yep.
The sea's always changing. The atmospheric pressure is always changing. So the point is, in life, every day is different.
Exactly.
Right. Since this has all happened, I got home, I found out I had skin cancer. I mean, you're here with me. I got a big chunk cut off my shoulder.
Yeah.
Or my chest. The doctor just called this morning, said they got it all. Cool. Feels good. Right. Fortunately, it was the skin cancer that you want to get. If you get them, it's basal cell. But it's job related. They, workers' comp's been good. They're already accepted it and taking care of me. But it's just one of those things where like the wind's going to change.
Exactly.
Life's going to throw these things at you. So you can't just get so fixated in your current position right now. Like you think you have your heading, but you're not adjusting to all these other external forces, because as firefighters, the more we get inundated with all this stuff, the harder it is for us to get our mindset to adjust our course.
Exactly.
We just keep steering at 100 degrees because, hey, that's what it says right here on this paper.
Yep.
And so all I can say is like, don't forget that. Don't forget that like it's a daily adjustment.
Exactly.
Adjust to the wind, adjust to the external factors that you can't control.
Yep.
All you can do is that's what you control is your adjustments, right?
Exactly.
So the old adage of, like the complainer, bitches about the wind, but the competent sailor adjusts the sails.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that whole
And
so and at the same time, I love a quote. It says, smooth seas never made a skilled captain, right?
Exactly.
So and it's true. It's just like, you become good at this life and these things is by weathering these storms.
Exactly. So, yep. I firmly believe that, man, the more challenges you go through, the stronger you become. I want to say, hopefully the wiser you become from those. And ultimately, hopefully your mess, your challenges, your whatever it is you're going through can ultimately help the next person too, and that's why we're doing this, because of my story, your story, and we're just trying to bring a voice out there. And hopefully the ones that listen to it, care enough to do what they need to do and take the steps they need to do. Not only for themselves, but, for their departments too, and also for their families and loved ones. So. Yeah.
Last thing I'll say about the center, because again, I just keep thinking of all this stuff, is if you have someone you work with, you can call for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So you can't force them to go, but if you're like, hey, this person is hurting, this person's suffering, because we're not equipped to help each other.
Yeah.
Not equipped I'm not a professional licensed therapist. So if you come to me, especially on duty, it's tough, right? Like service above all else. So if you come to me and you can't work, I got to send you home, dude.
Yeah.
I hate it because I don't want to send you home, but we have a job to do. We have to protect citizens. We have to respond to the calls, and the world keeps revolving. It keeps going. Like, so, we can't just stop everything. So point being is, like, if you are in the firehouse and you have these people that you're working with and you're seeing these signs and you're seeing these symptoms and they're suffering, there's multiple ways to go about it, but you can make that phone call and ask for some advice. See if they'll reach out to this person. See if this person's willing to, like, tell the person, you'll make the call with them, put it on speaker, help them, shepherd them through the process.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be the individual reaching out. So just because I saw multiple people there who got voluntold that they were going to the Center of Excellence.
Yeah.
Because once you do something to the point in your department, in life, or whatever, where it's like you kind of put the department in a spot where they have no other choice.
Yeah.
It becomes that last resort.
Yeah. And
so sometimes those people come there kind of pissed off, kind of still, oh yeah, they're making me come here. But almost all of those people leave knowing that place saved their life.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to go back and live a good life and be a good employee and member of the fire department, a good brother and sister to their fellow firefighters. So if you have someone you work with, I'm telling you, man, make that call.
Yeah.
And just, go from there.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's not easy, but the point is, honestly, support and community and commitment goes a long way. So, thanks for the story, Shane, and anyone that's going to listen to this, please, if this helped you and if you can it'll help somebody else, please share it. And, like me and Shane talked about, getting help isn't always the easiest thing. So no one has to know you listen to this. This can be while you're driving. This can be in your, in the room at the station. Maybe you ran a bad call and you heard about this, and right now you're in the station in your bed and it's 2 a.m. after a call. And you're like, I'm looking for something. So the point is, we just want to continue to help. And this is a huge resource, like Shane said, and there's a lot of resources out there. So we'll just continue what we're doing, man. And cool. Wish the best for all of our brothers and sisters out there. And thank you, Shane, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and anybody wants, you can reach out, man. We'll get our emails linked on there soon. But I've got one that's ricfirecaptain@gmail.com.
Okay. You
can be anonymous, man. If you want to send me an email and get more information, I'll be happy to share it with you. If you want to tell me who you are, I will. It'll be private, but you don't know me, I don't know you, but I got a lot. Obviously, I got a lot to say. So if anybody wants to reach out, please do. Yeah.
Same for me. Mine's epadgettcoaching@gmail.com. So if anyone wants to reach out that way. So, thank you for whoever listened, and, we'll catch you guys on the next one.